I know people that died serving their country in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Israel has killed 500 times as many kids.
This series of exchanges captures a heated and multifaceted debate on U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, particularly regarding Iran, Israel, and American military involvement. Speakers clash over the morality, strategy, and consequences of past and potential interventions, while also confronting issues of media bias, civilian casualties, and the prioritization of national interests. The discussions reflect deep ideological divides between interventionists and non-interventionists, between critics of authoritarian regimes and those questioning Western complicity, and highlight the emotional and political weight these topics carry.
This is getting very serious and very real, isn't it, for people in Iran?
Very serious, and he reminded me a bit of, I don't know, Comical Alley.
Yeah, I was exactly going to say that.
It's just completely ridiculous.
Yeah, completely deluded.
Deluded and clearly shilling for the regime. And I just think of this incredible civilization that stretches back thousands of years with a GDP per capita of like $4,000. Israel's is over $50,000, a freer society, one that wishes to develop and grow and be prosperous, rather than to live in this medieval, religious, fanatical worldview. As all the things that you said there, Piers, were completely true about the way they degrade women and repress free speech and all these other punitive measures that are just so awful to endure. One thing I'd throw in, though, is I agreed with the previous speaker on the panel who said that the Afghanistan war was a mistake.
The speaker criticizes a regime for being delusional and oppressive, contrasting it with freer and more prosperous societies like Israel. They express frustration at the regime's religious fanaticism, repression of women and free speech, and overall backwardness, despite its long-standing civilization. While agreeing with criticisms of the regime, the speaker also acknowledges that the Afghanistan war was a mistake, aligning with the previous panelist's view.
It would have been better not to have gone in. I think that's a fair counterfactual analysis. I actually was against the Iraq war too, but I think we should confront something that I don't think was confronted by the America First lobby, which is that if one agrees that Iran would like a nuclear weapon, as the Nuclear Weapon Atomic Energy Authority has said, 60% enrichment, getting very, very close, and if you also believe, as I do, that they would likely use it, then let's not pretend that America can stay out of this. Even a relatively small nuclear war would lead to a nuclear winter that would have an effect around the world of catastrophic proportions. It would affect farming all around the world. It would lead to famine. We can't allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon. The idea that the counterfactual is staying out and allowing potentially a nuclear strike to occur would be catastrophic. I think we need to face up to that truth.
All right, Cenk, I mean, Cenk, you were shaking your head throughout all that. I don't understand why you feel comfortable being such a defender of Iran.
I'm not. No. You see, that's total propaganda. Okay, so let's break it down one by one. Okay, so number one, when I see the Israeli ambassador earlier, he sounds like Baghdad Bob to me. Like Iran is the aggressor. No, Israel is clearly the aggressor. We all saw them start the war.
The speaker argues that while past wars like Iraq and Afghanistan may have been mistakes, ignoring the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran is dangerous. They believe Iran is close to nuclear capability and would likely use it, leading to global catastrophe. A nuclear conflict, even if small, could trigger famine and climate fallout worldwide. Another speaker pushes back, calling that view propaganda and claiming Israel, not Iran, is the true aggressor based on recent events.
Second of all, they say, oh my God, we're so worried about civilians. Israel always kills more civilians than their opponents, and by an order of magnitude. For example, Hamas, terrible. They killed 36 kids on October 7th. Awful, right? Israel has killed 500 times as many kids. So this guy, pretending to be an Iranian expert, is telling us about how much he's concerned about women. Israel has killed 20,000 women in Gaza. How about their rights? How about the rights of to those women to stay alive? How about all the civilians they're murdering in Iran?
Why are you avoiding criticizing?
So when I see you guys,
yeah, but Cenk, why are you criticizing?
No, I'm not avoiding it at all.
But Cenk,
I'm not avoiding it at all. Let me explain. Let me explain.
Okay. Why are you ducking saying criticism of Iran?
It's a simple question.
I'm not ducking it at all. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? It's simple. I don't like the Iranian regime at all. Okay. I'm an atheist now. They would kill me first. I got no interest in the Iranian regime, but the Israeli regime would also murder me. So I want you guys to be fair and balanced. So don't tell me that the Iranian regime is super dangerous to its neighbors, while Israel actually attacks all of its neighbors, including Iran. So tell me about how dangerous the Israeli terrorist regime is as it attacks civilians again and again and again, except that you say, well, Muslim lives don't really matter. That's why you guys don't count the Muslim civilians that Israel murders on a regular basis. So look,
what would
if
they murder
we
you
think
for?
the Iranian regime is bad, and it is, it's just like Saddam's regime was bad. Hold on, Ben, let me finish. So the North Korean regime is terrible. The Chinese regime runs concentration camps for Uyghur Turks. Those Turks are my people. The Russians invaded Ukraine. These are all terrible regimes. That doesn't mean we have to start a war with them.
Let Ben respond.
And it doesn't mean that America has to fight Israel's war for it.
Well, America isn't fighting it at the moment.
We're
not fighting
at the moment,
America fight your own wars.
But America is not
$1, not one troop.
America is not involved in this war at the moment. Ben Ferguson.
The speaker condemns the double standard in how Western media treats civilian deaths, noting that while Hamas is rightly criticized, Israel kills far more civilians, yet faces less outrage. They reject both the Iranian and Israeli regimes, calling for fairness and equal concern for Muslim lives, which are often ignored or devalued in global discourse.
Yeah, it's amazing he just said that Israel would kill him. I asked him 7, 8 times.
That's not true,
What would they murder you for? What would they murder you for? And I said over and over again, you said that Israel would murder you.
They murder journalists more than any other country.
So
they
you're telling
murdered
me right
more
now,
journalists than World War I, World War II, Vietnam, and Afghanistan combined. They murdered more journalists than all other conflicts in the world combined. They murder Muslim Americans, 12 of them. And America does not defend American citizens in the occupied territories.
All right, Cenk, let him
Israel
speak.
murders Americans all the time, and America never defends us.
This is the problem. When you say things that are this egregious, everyone watching around the world is going to look at this and say, this guy is an idiot because you didn't answer the question. You said that Israel would murder you right now.
ChatGPT, look it up. Israel has murdered more journalists than all other conflicts in the world combined.
I'm asking you personally. You said they would murder you now. I'm not going to let up on this. What would they murder you for? You're telling me right now that you think Israel wants to find you and kill you right now where you are?
No. If I go to Israel, you
you're
said
full of crap.
Go to Israel. If I go to Israel, Israel would almost certainly murder. IDF already wrote my name on a bomb. It's not like they're hiding it. And they murder journalists more than any other country. In fact, all the other countries combined. That's a literal fact. And they murder Muslim Americans, 12 of them. And they didn't object under Biden. We don't object under Trump because you can murder American citizens only if you're Israel. The terrorist state of Israel is allowed to kill Americans. And what do we have to do? We have to give them another $311 billion. We have to start another war for them like Iraq and spend $2 trillion. Why do the American people owe Israel hundreds of billions of dollars?
The speaker criticizes the U.S. government for failing to protect American citizens, particularly Muslim Americans allegedly killed by Israel in the occupied territories. They argue that Israel acts with impunity, even targeting journalists and civilians, yet faces no accountability from either Democratic or Republican administrations. The speaker labels Israel a terror state, questions the billions in U.S. aid it receives, and condemns the pattern of U.S. wars fought in Israel's interest, like Iraq.
American soldiers, we don't owe them anything.
Don't talk over each other.
Give me the $300 billion back. Give me the $300 billion back.
Respond.
You owe us. I don't owe you. And Ben, you're supposed to be an American, not an Israeli. Look at me and Jack. Me and Jack don't agree on anything else. But we agree that we should serve America. I say Americans first, not Israelis. Stop the wars.
Let me say this.
Look at MAGA.
Okay, here's what
Let Ben speak.
Number one.
Steve Bannon all saying stop the war. We didn't ask for war.
Ben,
here's the left and the right uniting saying we don't want war.
Cenk, let Ben speak.
Number one, my foreign policy has changed drastically from after 9/11. I don't think we should go into Iraq. Afghanistan, if I could have a redo, I would change what I thought about that. I've said that very clearly for years now on TV. But no, I said I've changed my foreign policy. When you make mistakes and you see what happens, it's okay to change. It's called growing up, all right? You learn from your mistakes. I'm not in favor of invading America into Iran. So let me say that first so you put words in my mouth. Second thing, I've seen 2 hostage videos today. One from the guy that's in Iran right now and you. And I don't know why you act like there's a country that is running terrorism in the Middle East, Iran, who's chanting death to Israel. By the way, death to America. They chant death to America too, okay? And why you act like they're not a threat.
The speaker passionately argues that U.S. policy should prioritize Americans over foreign interests, criticizing massive aid to Israel and calling for an end to endless wars. They stress an America First approach, rejecting further military involvement, especially with Iran. Another speaker responds by acknowledging past mistakes, like supporting the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and says it's responsible to change positions over time.
To the Middle East and to American interests over there. That's why Donald Trump said yesterday.
Jack,
that's
you
why
think
Donald
they're a
Trump said
threat to
yesterday,
us?
if you come after, yes, I do. I do think Iran's a threat to us because they helped kill American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. They trained the damn terrorists.
No, I asked Jack. I asked an American.
I know people that died serving their country in Iraq and Afghanistan. I just went to Fort Bragg and went to where the 82nd.
Yeah, because you sent them to die on behalf of Israel.
On a plaque. I'm not screwing around with this. Do not tell me that Iran
them to
did
die
not help
on
kill
behalf
Americans.
of Israel. Ben, I had these debates with you on the Iraq War. I had these debates with you on the Iraq War. You were 100% wrong then. You're 100% wrong now. You sent American kids to die there on behalf of Israel then, and you want to send American kids to die on behalf of Israel.
Let me bring in. All right,
Jack, I disagree with you on everything else. But as an American, speak up here.
Let me bring in Jack. Jack, final word to you.
Well, certainly they're a threat, but in the sense that they're a threat because the United States is currently sending the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier from the Asia Pacific, from Westpac, over to the Middle East. So, by the way, this is the first time that China now has more aircraft carriers in the Pacific than the United States. The first time that's ever happened.
The discussion centers on U.S. involvement in the Middle East and whether Iran poses a genuine threat. One speaker blames past wars, like Iraq and Afghanistan, on U.S. support for Israel, accusing policymakers of sacrificing American lives for foreign interests. They claim those wars were mistakes that sent U.S. soldiers to die unnecessarily. In contrast, others argue Iran is a real threat, citing its role in training militants and attacking U.S. forces.
Now you're going to have those 5,000 sailors on that aircraft carrier, plus the other 5,000 that are on the Carl Vinson, potentially sitting within range of everything that Iran has. This is exactly what I've been talking about. So the threat to American lives is, and I think it's right there. I think it's what you're saying. It's because America is getting involved in a war that's not ours.
Can I ask a question of Jack and Cenk, just quickly? You say it's a war that isn't yours. If you were convinced, let me ask you a hypothetical, that Iran was close to getting
a nuclear... You guys always do these hypotheticals.
If Iran was close to getting a nuclear weapon...
What is?
As the UN inspectors say, let me ask you a direct question. Do you then think, if America was the only country that had the capability to degrade and destroy Iran's nuclear capacity, would it then be in American interest to intervene?
So should America go around and blow up all the nuclear sites that aren't American? Should we attack China? Should we attack Russia? Should we attack France? Should we attack the UK? All of them? Is that your contention?
So you would.
Should we attack Israel?
Okay, so it's a consistent position. You would permit. You think it's in America's interests?
No, you asked me a hypothetical. You're playing this game. You're trying to Kafka trap me right now.
No, we didn't.
You're trying to Kafka trap me, and you're trying to say, well, if you agreed to this hypothetical that I asked you, then you must also. No, I'm not playing that game. I'm not playing that game right now. You're saying, in a hypothetical situation, should America attack someone? To your point, they do not have weaponized nuclear capability or uranium that is at the point of weaponization at 90%, which they could use for an atomic bomb. They do not have that. They have 60%. So you're saying even if they had 90%, which by the way doesn't sit with the DNI Gabbard's assessment and the entire assessment of the intelligence agencies that Iran is not currently developing weapons of mass destruction. They're only enriching uranium. So you're saying, oh, well, that's totally fine. You've never even asked me what I think. You're trying to play this game where you
really?
put words
I've been asking myself.
I'm not playing that game.
I'm not trying to play any game. I've been asking myself the question a lot over the last few days.
The debate centers on whether the US should militarily intervene if Iran were close to developing a nuclear weapon. One speaker asks if it would be in America's interest to strike Iran's nuclear facilities. The other rejects the hypothetical, arguing that Iran hasn't reached weaponization and that US intelligence does not confirm Iran is building nuclear weapons.
Because you're setting up a false
if I may just finish, once I read the report that Iran had been dissembling,
I'm the same as Matthew. I read that report. I read that report, and what was crystal clear from that report is that there have been constant lies and obfuscation from the Iranian regime in relation to the nuclear program.
From the Israeli regime.
Clearly, they believed that they were being lied to in their ability to report properly about what was going on. They also believed the uranium enrichment was now at a level where it was quite likely and possible that Iran could have a full nuclear bomb imminently, weeks, months, whatever that period may be. And in that circumstance, I took a view, in a way that I'd be very critical of the Israeli government for what's going on in Gaza at the moment, but I took a view that if you are Israel right now and you have Iran with the atomic agency saying they are getting perilously close to being able to create a nuclear bomb,
nonsense.
that is a time where you may decide that is a time to stop them. And that appears to be
I think diplomacy is possible.
I
think
but I've got to leave it there. We've run out of time, guys. I'm sorry.
I was asked a question. This is the same lies that Israel fed us about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
All right.
The same hypotheticals. Oh, what if Iraq has weapons of mass destruction? Oh, here's fake intelligence telling you that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction.
This is not fake intelligence. This is from the atomic agency.
Israel lied us into a war before. And then they always do hypotheticals like, oh, what if the Palestinians say that we don't have a right to exist? No, the Israeli cabinet has voted that Palestinians don't have a right to exist.
Okay.
All their hypotheticals are what Israel actually does.
I've
what
got
if
to leave
Iran
it there.
has a nuke? Israel actually has a nuke.
Okay.
Israel is the most aggressive country and the most likely to use a nuclear weapon. We have to get out of Israel's control.
Okay, I've got to leave it there.
And the right uniting, saying,
I've got to leave it there,
serve
guys.
Americans
I've run
first.
out of time. I've run out of time, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to leave it there. I appreciate you joining me.
Not $1, not one troop.
We've gone well over time, but I appreciate you all joining me. Thank you very much.
In the end, the debate underscores how complex and deeply polarized discourse on Middle Eastern policy has become. From concerns over nuclear proliferation and regional stability to the moral costs of foreign alliances and war, the conversation reveals no easy answers, only hard questions about power, responsibility, and whose lives are counted. Whether driven by national interest, moral imperative, or historical reckoning, the path forward demands nuance, accountability, and above all, consistency in the values America claims to uphold. So that's all. Thank you, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. See you in the next one.